piece of this, where the court has said the Biden administration plan to forgive federal student loans does not hold up. They're blocking that. They're agreeing with the lower court that that was not within their congressional authority.
Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Another victorious day for us with the Supreme Court striking down Joe Biden's crazy, wacko student debt forgiveness plan. We're going to get into all the details of that as well as all the other major headlines with you. But before we jump into it, support a true American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. The question for all of you is, should you have to pay off somebody else's debt? Let us know in the comment section below. And also, go to the links in the description below and pick up yourself a copy of Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. It's a great gift for yourself, friend, family member. Heck, Democrat or independent, needs to be red-pilled or just given truth. Pick yourself up a copy today. And also, head over to baldbrad.com if you haven't already. Check out our website. We do got merchandise. We got shirts, hoodies. We also got mugs, which a lot of you are buying these up, folks. We got it in glossy white, and the one in which all of you unexpectedly are buying is the black one, which I guess I'm going to have to get myself one so I could share in the great coffee or whatever it is you're drinking out of your mug with you. And also, hit that join tab down below. Become an American Patriot today. We got a lot of new members in the last few days here, folks. What an exciting time to be a part of our community here. A lot of regulars in the live chat joining all the time. They would love for you to join them as well. I would love for you to join our community because we are a community of conservatives, Republicans, and some independents that try to push conservative ideas out there to new viewers. If you haven't seen our content or our channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Join us today. Become a member and a true American patriot. Well, the lead story of the day is a big win. It's a big win, folks. The Supreme Court strikes down Biden admin's $430 billion student loan forgiveness scheme. So in a stinging defeat for the Biden administration, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Friday that the COVID-era HEROES Act, hold on to that one, did not give the White House authority to unilaterally forgive federally subsidized student loans. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the 6-3 majority, saying the secretary asserts that the HEROES Act grants him the authority to cancel $430 billion of student loan principal. It does not. We hold today that the act allows a secretary to waive or modify existing statutory or regulatory provisions applicable to financial assistance programs under the Education Act, not to rewrite that statute from the ground up. The reason why this is important, folks, is because Jackie Heinrich questioned Karine Jean-Pierre on this a long time ago. And the idea revolved around the HEROES Act itself, and she was trying to get Karine Jean-Pierre to process the idea that the HEROES Act cannot apply to this because Joe Biden himself said that we are not in a pandemic anymore. So Biden has justified spending such an incredible amount without first obtaining congressional approval by invoking the HEROES Act. So what is the HEROES Act? It's a 9/11 era law designed to allow the federal government to provide student debt relief to soldiers who were forced to withdraw from college to enter active duty. Under the HEROES Act, the Secretary of Education is granted the authority to waive, quote, any statutory or regulatory provision relating to student loan repayment or assistance programs during a time of, quote, a war or military operation or national emergency. So what Biden was trying to do was, because we just had this massive pandemic, he was trying to attach that ideology to everybody. When the HEROES Act is talking about heroes, it's talking about those men and women that wanted to serve during a time of war or military operation or, I don't know, a national emergency. But this is what they do. They try to twist and construe this whole thing. Folks, it wasn't a hard decision. And we'll get to the White House press briefing that was today. That's why we're a little bit delayed in our uploading here. But the White House had no plan B. Wait till we get to the questions. They are literally stumped at these questions as if they weren't even prepared. They should have been prepared because the White House press briefing was an hour late. Unbelievable. So the decision was made along ideological lines, go figure, as Chief Justice Roberts was joined in the majority by Justices Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Clarence Thomas. The first case was decided unanimously, with all judges ruling in Department of Education v. Brown that the two petitioners who were denied debt relief under the program did not have standing to sue the Department of Education. The second case, Biden v. Nebraska, upheld the right of the several GOP states involved in the lawsuit to sue the Biden administration, clearly the hurdle necessary to present their argument before the court. Roberts bluntly contended in the majority opinion, quote, 6 states sued, arguing that the HEROES Act does not authorize the loan cancellation. We agree. Student loan forgiveness has been on many Democrats' wish lists for years, as 43 million Americans struggle to pay an average of basically $30,000 in student loans that could take decades to pay off, according to Forbes. Well, here's kind of just a blunt response to that. How about you don't take out a loan that you can't pay for? How about you run the numbers before you make such a drastic decision like that and see how long it's going to take you to pay off? I took out $60,000 of student loans. I wasn't asking for a handout. I paid that off myself. I worked about 3 jobs to do it. So if you work hard and you grind, and by the way, it wasn't a shock that I'm going to have to pay this off. It wasn't a shock of me looking at the amortization schedule and knowing what my payments are going to be and if I'm able to make those payments and what my job future is going to look like, depending on the career that I was going to. Like, none of this is rocket science, but all of a sudden when people are making decisions because the Democrat Party doesn't have personal responsibility, which we talked about in yesterday's episode, it's reliant on everybody else to pay for your mistakes. It's wild. The Democrats do not have personal responsibility. They don't. If you want to defeat them in almost any argument, go with that one. You're probably going to win. So Bernie Sanders, socialist, rose to popularity in both the 2016 and 2020 Democratic presidential primaries, offering to wipe out all $1.6 trillion in student loan debt without any eligibility requirements, as well as making public colleges and universities free on a national level. Wild. You don't have to go to college. You could save up. You can go in the military, get some of your college paid for. You can do a lot of things rather than asking for a handout all the time, but that's the Democrat Party for you. And what's funny about all this is the Supreme Court quoted Nancy Pelosi in the decision that killed Biden's student loan debt, that cancellation. So Chief Justice John Roberts quoted from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, one of the few things that she actually got right in the majority opinion released on Friday that struck down President Joe Biden's student debt cancellation program. Their program, which was designed to forgive up to $10,000 in federal student loans for borrowers whose incomes were below a certain threshold, up to $20,000 if they had been Pell Grant recipients, was ruled again unconstitutional by a 6-3 margin. Quote, the Secretary asserts the HEROES Act grants him the authority to cancel $430 billion. As we saw, Chief Justice John Roberts says, not happening. So you have this quote here from Nancy Pelosi that says, people think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. Let me pull this on the screen for you. He does not. He can postpone. He can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress. Press conference, Office of the Speaker of the House, July 28th, 2021. You got to love it, using her own words. And despite like her misgivings at the time, Pelosi later appeared to support the plan. So she's going back on her words, which we see time and time again from the Democrat Party. In August of 2022, just over a year later, she cheered Biden's efforts in a tweet saying, POTUS bold action is a strong step in Democrats' fight to expand access to higher education. You don't have to go to college to make a lot of money. You can go to the trades. Okay, why don't you try those out? You can make a ton of money, 6 figures for that matter. You do not have to go to college to be successful. By delivering historic targeted student loan relief to millions of borrowers, more working families will be able to meet their kitchen table needs as they recover from the pandemic. Unbelievable. So here's kind of the Biden administration pushing that whole thing. But Nancy Pelosi, I mean, she was right, but then she had to be wrong. So this obviously led to the White House press briefing today, where reporters from CBS News to Fox News to Real Clear Politics asked phenomenal questions, and they stump the education secretary here, Miguel Cardona. I mean, they had no plan B. And the plan B that they're proposing, everybody's wondering, well, if the plan B is so good, then why didn't you do that in the first place? And this is the first question here. Let's roll it.
Could you give us any details about how you plan to apply the HEROES Act? I'm sorry, the Higher Education Act to this. And it seems like if the HEROES Act was on legally spurious footing, this might be even more so. And if you're more secure that this is a legal route to do it, why didn't you just use this in the first place?
We believe the Supreme Court got it wrong today. We believe the HEROES Act does give me the authority. The Supreme Court made their decision today. We accept that. The Higher Education Act has a pathway, and we're going to use that pathway.
But if you think that's a better way to do it, why didn't you just use that in the first place?
We believe that the HEROES Act pathway was quicker, and we had the authority to do that.
The president said that this
It's so wild. It's so wild. Oh, well, it's quicker. It was easier. We just figured we would kind of screw everybody really quick and hopefully get it passed through, give $430 billion of debt relief out there for people's students' loans, and then kind of just go on our merry way. Folks, just a question for all of you. Why are they stopped? Why is it so focused on student loans? Why is it not your credit cards? Why is it not your mortgage or your auto loans? Like, why is it none of those? Why are they just stopping here? The reason why is because if this would have got pushed through, the next step would have been your credit cards, which the Democrat Party has talked about in the past. They talked about forgiving that. So this leads us to our next reporter. I think it might be Jackie Heinrich here. I'm kind of a little confused with how I laid this out. I think it is Jackie Heinrich of Fox News, Wonder Woman, questioning the White House here going, well, if it's going to be the same Supreme Court, because this new plan that you want to do here is just going to get upheld by the Supreme Court again. You're not going to have any difference in terms of the decision making. They're stumped. They're stumped.
The lawyers that you're saying believe that this path is sound. This path could face the same court as the previous plan. So, given that the lawyers got the outcome wrong the last time with the court that we have, how is this going to impact, Bidenomics and the central piece of the 2024 campaign, which has hinged on this forgiveness plan and people believing that it's possible? Yeah. What has changed?
Sure.
The court isn't changing, so what's changing?
So I'll let Brett answer that about the Bidenomics and the long-term impact, but we're going to fight. We're going to keep fighting. And there were many other legal scholars that believe we had the authority under the HEROES Act. I mean, the HEROES Act makes it pretty clear. I have the authority to modify or waive. The Supreme Court.
You notice how he stops there? We just read the HEROES Act for you. Let's read it again, just for everyone's memory. HEROES Act, a 9/11 era law designed to allow the federal government to provide student debt relief to soldiers who were forced to withdraw from college to enter active duty. Under the HEROES Act, the Secretary of Education is granted the authority to, quote, waive any statutory or regulatory provisions. That's where he stopped. That's the only part. That part, he said any statutory or regulatory provision. That's the only part that he wants to include. He's not going to include that this is for our soldiers that were forced to go to war or be included in a military operation. And it goes on here to say relating a student loan repayment or assistance program during a time of, quote, war, military operation, or national emergency. Joe Biden himself said that we were no longer in a pandemic.
Saw it differently. We're moving forward in another path, and we're going to put the best legal argument forward to provide relief for borrowers. That's our focus, and we're not going to stay off.
He's not answering the question.
This court will see eye to eye with you. It's going to be the same court if it's challenged legally.
We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to put the best legal argument forward to stand up for borrowers and to keep fighting for affordable college. Did you want to talk about the bigger plan right now? Sure.
Do you think it's astonishing that this guy's the head of the Department of Education but can't answer a clear question? Like, what kind of image are you giving our education system where literally you're posed a very basic question of, like, how do you think things are going to differ here? And you weren't able to give us any details on how things were going to differ. All you said is, well, we're going to fight. We're going to fight for people. Okay. Well, that just shows us where our education system, as the guy that's running the whole show, the education system can't answer a basic question. Jesus.
Well, I just want to add one thing on that question. We're just beginning the rulemaking process now. There's going to be time to craft the exact proposal under this new legal authority. One thing, of course, that we'll keep in mind is how this plan is going to be received by the courts. But what the president believes is that if his lawyers, who are all highly qualified attorneys, tell him that a path is legally available, he's going to trust them.
I feel like he didn't even believe those words coming out of his mouth. You see that smirk that he gave there? Joe Biden has highly qualified attorneys. Can we go back? Just watch the smirk on his face when he says it.
Received by the courts. But what the president believes is that if his lawyers, who are all highly qualified attorneys, tell him that a path is legally available, he's going to trust them. And we're going to put our best foot forward in court to defend it. What I would say to borrowers is that we are taking action on multiple fronts to help them in light of the Supreme Court opinion today. There's the 12-month on-ramp to repayment, which is going to be a real benefit to borrowers who may be having trouble getting started again on their repayments and who may have to skip a payment or two because they need to get their financial situation together. Previously, they may have been put into delinquency or default or seen a negative mark on their credit report. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen for the first 12 months. So that's a real benefit to those borrowers. And as the Secretary said, and I don't want people sleeping on this, this income-based repayment plan that we're rolling out today that was finalized is a huge deal. It is going to save the typical borrower $1,000 a year on their loan repayments. Somebody who is making $50,000, $60,000 a year is going to see a substantial savings and may even end up paying $0 in their monthly payment because of this new program. And by the way, one concern that people have had about the income-based repayment program in the past is that if you were making these smaller payments, your balance would keep growing over time. One of the reforms we're putting in place is making sure that that balance doesn't grow over time, even as you are making potentially a $0 payment each month. It is a big deal for both current borrowers and for all the future borrowers who are out there. Now, I want to be clear, that's not a substitute for debt relief, but it is a huge benefit for borrowers that is going to be available coming this summer. And we encourage people to sign up for it.
Does it just sound like things are getting delayed? Like you're just going to kick the can down the road on your student loan and your debt? You shouldn't have any debt, folks. I know that some of us do have debt here, and I'm sure I'm not including your mortgage as your debt. You shouldn't be buying a new vehicle unless you're a millionaire. I mean, all these basic principles can be found I'm a follower of Dave Ramsey. Any of these basic principles can be found in Dave Ramsey's book, Financial Peace. I highly recommend you pick that up. Financial Peace is an amazing book. I even give it to people for their wedding and Christmas and stuff like that. Follow it to a T and you should be successful. If you don't have money to buy something, then you can't buy it. I mean, it's not rocket science, but they treat it as if it is. You take out a loan that you should have never taken out in the first place. You're still responsible for that. I'm not responsible for anybody's debt. That's wild. You're responsible for it. It's your debt. It doesn't say Brad on it. It doesn't say Eric on it. It doesn't say Neil. It doesn't say Jennifer, all the people. It doesn't say Green. It doesn't say Gary. It doesn't say any of your names in your live chat. It's their debt. They pay it, not you. You didn't co-sign it, but the government wants you to co-sign everything nowadays. That's really what it is. So no response coming from them, which is typical. Wait till we get to Philip Wegman's question, you guys. We're going to listen to Ed's question here, but Philip Wegman stumps this dude right here. Wait for it. Just wait for it. Let's hear Ed's question here on this whole program within itself.
Ed and then Phil.
He'll give the quiet part out loud.
I wanted
Just
to get
listen.
that affordability issue. So does the president then blame universities for that affordability issue? And do you really think that rule's working that you talked about?
Well, the rule is still in progress. It's going to be proposed and then ultimately put in place. But I think when it is in place, it's definitely going to go after the worst performers in this space, the colleges and universities that are charging the most and delivering the worst results. I think other reforms.
Okay. So you don't go to those universities. You just heard the guy say it costs the most, and he's talking about your return on investment. Your return on investment sucks. So you don't go to the Ivy Leagues. Don't go to these big universities. You don't have to go to a name brand university to get a job. You can go to a community college for very cheap, and then just go to a state school, go to a UC school, or whatever it may be in your area, and just do it for cheap. Folks, it's to get your foot in the door. Your education is meaningless once you have your job experience. You should not be shelling out $75,000 a year or more on an education from NYU, Harvard, all these places for you to get a communications degree or underwater basket weaving or lesbian dance theory or gender identity, whatever the heck that means. Like, even if you're going for accounting, I remember when I got my accounting degree, I got the same jobs as the guys up at USC and UCLA that were paying up the wazoo for the same exact degree and working in the same company as I am, and I'm not in any student debt. I went to a state school. I went to Long Beach State. Got a phenomenal degree. Worked perfect. Out of there with no student debt. And mind you, I was working during college. Not only was I working at Staples during college, I was working as a tax intern. I was part of Beta Alpha Psi, which is an accounting fraternity. I was an officer for that. Not only that, I was playing a college sport, ice hockey, and doing all these things so that I could be successful and not asking for a handout. Did it require a lot of sacrifice? Of course it did. Of course it did. For years, I busted my butt. For years, and still am. But these people want a handout. That's what they want.
Reforms are necessary. The president's willing to work with Congress to talk through what those may be. But as we said, there's another goal here, which is to ease some of that cost in the meantime for lower income and middle income families who are trying to send their kid to school. And that's what the Pell Grant does. And I would just note that not so long ago, the Pell Grant, typical Pell Grant, covered about 75% of the cost of college. Now it covers way less than half the cost of college. It has been devalued over time, and that's one of the reasons why the president's been aggressive about increasing the size of the Pell Grant.
The Department of Education, as you said, pre-approved 16 million people for the forgiveness program. Was that meant to put political pressure on the court because you knew that this was going through the court process? You didn't have a decision yet, and were government resources then wasted on this?
No, I think we explained to borrowers what the process is going to be. We're going to set up this website. As soon as you send us your information, people behind the scenes at the department are going to be working extremely quickly to validate your information and to decide whether you're approved or not. That's exactly what we did. The court, unfortunately, the lower court in this case, stepped in before we could actually take that final step and actually discharge debt for approved borrowers. But
you took those approvals when the court process was happening. You didn't have an answer.
Right, but we didn't know that the court was going to enjoin us from actually doing debt relief. That was still an open question at the time. We had an obligation to borrowers to keep moving with the process as long as we legally could. And I want to make one more point here, because the debt relief program was announced alongside, if you remember, a resumption in payments. So we had a student loan pause in effect. In August, the president announced that we were going to have this debt relief as a lead-in to student loan payments resuming in January of this year. And so there was time pressure on us to make sure that borrowers who were applying were getting their debt relief quickly before they had that obligation to start making payments, because of course that discharge relief could mean that their payments would go down when they had to start making payments again.
Oh, basically, we're just trying to push it through, spend your taxpayer dollars before anybody actually makes a decision on that. In a nutshell, that's pretty much what this guy is saying. Ed actually caught him. I'm sure you saw my reaction to him with the whole messaging aspect of what he was just talking about. Oh, well, we were informing people. No, you weren't. Peter Ducey asked this question about the student debt forgiveness plan. Philip Wegman has asked this question. Jackie Heinrich is probably the most notable one in terms of what we talked about the HEROES Act, and her asking specifically to Karine Jean-Pierre, what is your plan B if this doesn't work? And it wasn't just her. A lot of reporters in the room asked that question many months ago. What is your plan B? They didn't have one. They still don't have one. That's why when they go, oh, well, we're still drafting up the rule, we're still trying to figure everything out. They thought they would be fine with this. They thought, oh, well, nobody's going to know. We'll just get it pushed through. Why not spend $430 billion of taxpayer money on somebody else's debt? Not a big deal. Rush it through. That's what Ed is talking about here. He has no response. Typical. Now we get to the best question of the day. It took a while to get in there in the White House press briefing room because they're an hour late. Philip Wegman here. Best question by far out of this entire briefing. Completely stumps this dude. Let's roll it.
Thank you, Karine. First, the other day, the president said that this is not a normal court. While the administration disagrees with this decision, does the administration think that it is legitimate? And then second, isn't the comparison between student loans and the Paycheck Protection Program a little bit strained, given that some of those federal student loans were given with the expectation that they would be paid back, and then the Paycheck Protection Program loans were given to employers with the expectation that those loans would be forgiven if they kept folks on payroll during a pandemic?
Yeah.
Mic drop. Mic drop of a question. Best question of the day. I keep emphasizing that. The reason why Phil's bringing this up is because they brought it up, saying that, oh, well, how's it fair that businesses and millionaires got all this relief? Look at this senator, look at this congressman, which they just miraculously all cherry-picked Republican as if no Democrats got any debt relief from their end. But Phil's destroying this guy. This guy's not ready for this question. The White House isn't ready for this question. And you're going to hear this word. This dude has the balls to say, oh, it's an analogy. Phil was not giving an analogy. That was pure fact. No analogy, no metaphor, no simile. Fact. This guy can't answer it. Let's hear his response.
So on your first question, we accept the court's ruling. Of course, we disagree with it. We had a chance to review the dissent written by Justice Kagan. We largely agree with the points that were made in the dissent. In terms of the PPP analogy, I think that this is the big picture here. As we went through the pandemic, there were a variety of programs put in place to help certain subsets of the population. And one of the biggest programs that was put in place was PPP, that was intended to help small business owners, right? And I think that we have gone through with those loan forgivenesses, as the president has said, $780 billion worth of loan forgiveness. But I think that the real hypocrisy, in his view, is that a lot of that loan forgiveness was happening over the last year and a half. And at any time, all of the Republicans in Congress who were saying to us, this debt relief program is unacceptable, could have also been saying, hey, take it easy on doing all this debt forgiveness. You know, a lot of these small business owners actually did really well in the pandemic. Shouldn't we take a second look at whether all of these loans should be forgiven? They're costing taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. And we never got a single bit of incoming from Republicans saying, slow down PPP forgiveness. In fact, the incoming we got was people saying, do it faster. Make it easier for people to qualify for forgiveness. So yeah, we think that there's a real tension between that and the idea that if we're going to try and give $10,000 to a nurse or a firefighter, that somehow is unacceptable or crosses the line from acceptable government relief to unacceptable government relief.
Ebony.
Oh man, he struggled. He really struggled on that one. Not an analogy. Philip Wegman did perfect. Phil's from Real Clear Politics. Give the guy some love. He's one of the best in the room. We always highlight him whenever we can, whenever he actually gets a question in, because Jean-Pierre doesn't want to give freedom of the press to give everybody a question. So he sometimes gets blacklisted for about a week or two. He gets put into the cage, into the penalty box for a while. But look, one was subject to you signing that contract and not getting any of your debt forgiven. The other one, the PPP, was unsigned contract of, hey, if you do this, then it will be forgiven. I mean, it's pretty clear and simple, but according to this White House, nothing's clear and simple. Let us know what you think about student debt forgiveness, and if you think you should have to pay somebody else's debt off, let us know in the comment section below. Folks, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. There's a lot of regulars in the live chat hanging out with us on this nice Friday evening. If you haven't become a member, what are you doing? A few of you have. We got some new members, folks. We love you joining and becoming a true American patriot. The join tab is somewhere over here, I think. I'll also post the link to the membership if you just want to click on that link. It makes it easy for you. But the Supreme Court gives us another victory for religious freedoms, folks. The Supreme Court sides with Christian graphic designer, says state can't force her to violate her religious beliefs. Like the left loved forcing you to do things. They want to force you to pay off somebody else's debt. They want to force you to bake a cake for a lesbian couple. They want to force you to now do art for things that go against your religious beliefs. It's all about force, you guys. They want to force your speech. And that's why the state of Michigan is implementing a hate speech bill. That if you offend somebody and hurt their feelings where they feel threatened, you get 5 years in prison and $10,000 fine. By force, this is what the left want to do. The left want to force your speech. They want to force you to turn in your guns. They want to force you to say what they want you to say. It's wild. So in a landmark victory for free speech, the Supreme Court on Friday struck down a Colorado law that would have punished a Christian graphic designer who declined to design a website for a same-sex wedding that violated her religious beliefs. This very much is in touch to that wedding cake, or that baker who refused to bake a wedding cake. I believe it was for a same-sex couple as well. And so that went up to the Supreme Court. And what's amazing here is if that goes against somebody's religious beliefs, that's freedom of religion. That's a freedom of speech. They have a right to do that. Doesn't mean I agree with it. But here's the thing. In a free capitalistic society, guess what you do? You go to another cake shop that's going to bake you a damn cake. Or what could you also do? Bake the freaking cake yourself. It's probably cheaper. I mean, Betty Crocker has phenomenal cake, folks. That devil's food. Anybody? Betty Crocker, you get at the store. I don't know if you have them in your place, but God, we have them here in California. Betty Crocker is a sweetheart, man. I'm telling you. That cake is good. It's phenomenal. It's like an American institution. It's like the good Coca-Cola. Betty Crocker, man. Get yourself some Betty Crocker. We're not sponsored, but woo. So in a 6-3 decision in the case of 303 Creative LLC and Ellenus, the High Court cited the First Amendment in ruling that Lori Smith could not be forced by state civil rights law to design websites that run counter to her sincerely held religious beliefs. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the majority, which included Chief Justice John Roberts, Justice Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, wow, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, saying no public accommodations law is immune from the demands of the Constitution. Quote, the First Amendment prohibits Colorado from forcing a website designer to create expressive designs speaking messages with which the designer disagrees. Smith said she is willing to work with anyone regardless of their sexual orientation, but objected to being forced to build wedding websites for same-sex couples because same-sex marriage goes against her deeply held beliefs. There's a war on religion, folks. There's a war on your freedom of speech. There's a war on your Second Amendment rights. There's a war on your rights in general. And thank God we have Supreme Court that still upholds the rights of Americans. Quote, there are some messages I can't create no matter who requests them. Smith said she denied, or rather delayed, expanding her business to start designing wedding websites because she was worried her beliefs would bump up against a Colorado public accommodations law. Colorado argued that Smith simply wanted to discriminate against same-sex couples and said the public accommodations law governs the conduct, not the speech of the person running a Colorado business. Under Colorado's logic, the government may compel anyone who speaks for pay on a given topic to accept all commissions on the same topic, no matter the message, if the topic somehow implicates a customer statutorily protected trait. So obviously you have Justice Sotomayor's dissent here. She doesn't like it. Of course, she's of the left. Joined by Justices Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson. We all knew when Ketanji Brown Jackson, basically a diversity hire, was implemented, how she was going to rule on things. Calling the ruling profoundly wrong and arguing that the Constitution contains no right to refuse service to a disfavored group. Wow. What language there? Contains no right to refuse service to a disfavored group. Why? Because the left want to force you to do something that goes against your will, goes against your religious beliefs. Today is a sad day in America, constitutional law, and the lives of the LGBT people. Where's the Q? Where's the AI++, all that other stuff? Why are you just limiting to LGBT? The Supreme Court of the United States declares that the particular kind of business, though open to the public, has a constitutional right to refuse to service members of a protected class. The court does so for the first time in its history, Sotomayor wrote. The immediate symbolic effect of the decision is to mark gays and lesbians for second-class status. Oh, come on. Come on. You know, the thing here is, when the left doesn't like people that go against their narratives, they're going to attack those that don't like their narratives. And so you have a strong demand for some people on the left to go after these certain religious bakers or graphic designers and create an uproar and try to shut them down, which you saw with the cake or the baker previously that didn't want to bake a cake for a same-sex couple. So they're targeting religious people. And I've said time and time again, what you do is you see these certain, I guess a certain ideology go inside even the classroom or the education system where they'll snuff out a conservative Republican. And so when the conservative Republican can't memorize all your pronouns because you constantly switch them throughout the day, or even if you don't switch them just because you don't like them because they're conservative Republican, you will make the effort to switch them. And then you get on recording or videotape and say, oh, look, he's not willing to adhere to my pronouns, when it's like, well, you have 100 different pronouns that you want me to call. You change it up every 5 minutes. You change a hair braid or a wristband that I can't keep track of because I got 30 other kids in the room. I'm also trying to teach something that's extremely hard to keep track of as well, to make sure I don't make any mistakes, to make sure everybody's taking notes and doing all those other things. But I'm supposed to sit there and remember 100 different pronouns that you want to go by. Of course, I'm exaggerating it somewhat, but do you see the effect that it has where if you want to target somebody, the left is putting mechanisms in place for you to be able to target them successfully. And that's what you see, I think, happening here, where you can go easily get another graphic designer, you can go easily get another bake shop, or you can learn to draw your damn self, or you can learn to bake your damn self and come up with the website yourself. Guess who made the website for the Bald Brad Show? You're looking at the guy. Do you think I had any idea on how to build websites? I'm not even saying the website's perfect, but I did the damn thing myself. By the way, our shirts, I almost drew the damn thing myself. The logo for the Bald Brad Show, the logo here, guess who made this thing? This guy. Am I a graphic designer? No. I teach mathematics. I do accounting. I'm not an artist. I had an artist make the Bald Brad Show, like the custom shirts on the back. And by the way, behind the scenes, I was about to learn how to draw and do the damn thing myself because I actually paid somebody, a couple people to do it, and they sucked. They sucked. So I literally almost started drawing the thing myself. That's not a joke. And matter of fact, I did create a mock-up for whoever's ended up drawing it. And it was pretty close to what we had. So I probably could have done the damn thing myself. I'm not trying to give myself a pat on the back, but, well, you're not willing to do this, I'm going to force you to do it. Like, what the hell, man? Go bake your own damn cake. Make your own stuff. Like, always forcing people to do other things that goes against their will. Mind-blowing. There's a question for you. Do you think you should be forced to do something you don't want to? Do you think you should be forced to bake something that goes against your religious beliefs? That technically could be classified as sin, so now you're sinning because you were forced to by the government? Let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Well, Dylan Mulvaney explodes on Bud Light after controversy. Now we got a fight between Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light. It just keeps getting worse for Bud Light, folks. Boy, this company's being crippled, losing over $20 billion. Oh my God. $20 billion Bud Light has lost. Oh my goodness. Folks, hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us a comment down below. It does help support the show. Also, check out the live chat. Become a member today. Hit that join tab. We'll also have the join tab. Can somebody in the live chat put in the join link or tell everybody to join? Shiv, you did a great job. Eric yesterday told everybody to join. We got some members off that. Look, they want you to join, folks. They want you to hang out just as much as I do. Join us in the live chat. Become a member today. True American Patriot. So, controversial transgender influence. Dylan Mulvaney blasted Bud Light in a video Thursday. I haven't seen the video yet, so we're going to watch this in real time together. Thursday afternoon, after not coming to his defense, after the company's paid marketing engagement with him blew up in their faces, accusing Anheuser-Busch to lose billions of dollars in market value. Why aren't you defending me? I don't know, man. You just cost us $20 billion. We're hemorrhaging money. We're going down. The ship is sinking. Right now is not the time to defend you, you knucklehead. Mulvaney, a man who claims he is a woman, said that he wanted to address the issue because he had an uncomfy feeling that he wanted to get off his chest. Quote, I took a brand deal with a company that I loved, and I posted a sponsored video to my page. I find this interesting because the CEO just came out and said, no, we just gave him the can. There was no real campaign with it. So we're getting contradictions here from Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney. He was just sent a can from what I was told. There wasn't really anything behind it. Quote, and it must have been a slow news week because the way that this ad got blown up, you would have thought I was like on a billboard or on a TV commercial or something major, but no, it was just an Instagram video. The ad, which featured Mulvaney promoting a special can that has his face on it, led to more bullying and transphobia than I could have ever imagined. So let's go ahead and, I haven't seen it. We're going to watch this together. I have a feeling it's going to be cringy. It's kind of long. It's 4 minutes. You guys think you can hold it together watching Dylan Mulvaney for 4 minutes and 20 seconds?
Hi. One thing I will not tolerate people saying about me is that I don't like beer, because I love beer and I always have. I built my platform on being honest with you, and what I'm about to tell you might sound like old news, but you know that feeling when you have something uncomfy like sitting on your chest? Well, that's how I feel right now, so this feels like the right thing to do. I took a brand deal with a company that I loved, and I posted a sponsored video to my page, and it must have been a slow news week because the way that this ad got blown up, you would have thought I was like on a billboard or on a TV commercial or something major, but no, it was just an Instagram video. And the wildest part is that they also sent me one can with my face on it. You might have seen it. And funny story, I had the can around my house, but then I realized, wait, I need to protect this can. So I hid it somewhere, and now I can't find it because I hid it so well. But when I do find it, I feel like it needs to go in a museum, preferably behind bulletproof glass. And you might be thinking, Dylan, why bring it up now? I'm bringing it up because what transpired from that video was more bullying and transphobia than I could have ever imagined. And
there's probably some truth to that, by the way. Like, not probably, definitely some truth to that. There's some people that went after this guy bigly. I hate bullying. I was bullied in elementary school severely. I got beaten the crap out of every single day, so much so that my teeth were actually crooked. A lot of people don't know that. I was bullied severely in elementary school and partially of middle school. So I don't like bullying, but bro, when you're dressed like that and you're targeting children in your ads and things that you say, I'm just not for it, man. And you switch in and being a reed in the wind of, oh, I'm trans, or I'm gay, I'm trans. Now all of a sudden I like women. You're telling your father. There's some stuff going on here, man. There's some weird stuff going on.
I should have made this video months ago, but I didn't. And I was scared, and I was scared of more backlash, and I felt personally guilty for what transpired. So I patiently waited for things to get better. But
why is my camera going in and out? What is going on here? Can we fix this? Let's see here. There we go. All right.
Surprise, they haven't really. And I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did. And for months now, I've been scared to leave my house. I have been ridiculed in public. I've been followed. And I have felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I'm not telling you this because I want your pity. I am telling you this because if this is my experience from a very privileged perspective, know that it is much, much worse for other trans people. For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all, because it gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want. And the hate doesn't end with me. It has serious and grave consequences for the rest of our community. And you know, we're customers too. I know a lot of trans and queer people who love beer, and I have some lesbian friends who could drink some of those haters under the table. But to turn a blind eye and pretend everything is okay, it just isn't an option right now. And you might say, but Dylan, I don't want to get political. Babe, supporting trans people, it shouldn't be political. There should be nothing controversial or divisive about working with us. And I know it's possible because I've worked with some fantastic companies who care. But caring about the LGBTQ plus community requires a lot more than just a...
All right, I'm done. I can't do it. I'm sorry. You guys might have lasted longer than I could. I can't. It's terrible that this person's receiving serious threats. I don't doubt that those threats are happening. But here's the thing, is the messaging that's coming out from the trans or LGBTQ community is, well, why can't you just support us? Look, I'm libertarian on a lot of this stuff. If you want to be trans, like, go be trans. If you want it, not if you want to be, if you're gay, I've said this time and time again, go be gay. I just want to be left alone. But the thing is that you are targeting children. Like, the trans community, the LGBT community is targeting children. And it's not one of those things like, oh, well, I don't think that's true. They were parading in the streets during a pride parade. And it's not the only time they said this, that we're coming for your children. You're doing it in the classroom. You have these activist teachers, not these teachers, activist teachers. I'm a teacher. I'm not pushing any agenda. I'm not coming for your children. I'm there to do a job. I'm not there to talk about sex. I'm not there to talk about their relationships. I'm not there to talk about anything. I'm there to give them academic advice of how to be successful in mathematics. None of this stuff, but you have these other activists out there doing it. So Dylan Mulvaney saying that the company's not backing them. Why would they? Dude, when there's a massive marketing blunder, losing $20 billion. And this obviously led to Anheuser-Busch responding. How could you not? So Anheuser-Busch issued a response to Dylan Mulvaney after the transgender influencer alleged the beer giant never reached out during the backlash over the controversial partnership. In an Instagram post Thursday, Mulvaney, who identifies as female, described a torrent of online bullying and transphobia. I'm sure the bullying is excessive. I'm sure this dude has received some serious death threats, which I'm not for. I don't think this guy should receive death threats. I don't agree with what he's doing. I don't like what he's doing. I don't like the target of children. I don't like, if he wants to be trans, man, but you got to figure out the messaging with the children and stuff like that, dude. It ain't cool. I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did, the TikTok star said. So Anheuser-Busch did not immediately respond to the request for comment. The company has issued a generic statement to multiple outlets pledging its support for the LGBTQ plus community without mentioning Mulvaney by name. So there you go. Like I said, when this was all going down, they were still supporting events. They were still giving out beer left and right to these pride events, these LGBTQ community, LGBT, right? Trans community. They're still doing stuff. Quote, as we've said, we remain committed to programs and partnerships we have forged over decades with organizations across a number of communities, including those in the LGBTQ plus community. An Anheuser-Busch spokesperson said, the privacy and safety of our employees and our partners is always our top priority. As we move forward, we will focus on what we do best, brewing great beer for everyone and earning our place in the moments that matter to our consumers. The Bud Light boycott has not relented in the months. Like I said, folks, they're like losing $20 billion or something like that. One thing I didn't agree, I do watch other people's podcasts, as I mentioned. I usually listen to about 6 or 7 podcasts a day. Everybody's like, well, how do you have time for that? You squeeze in the time, folks. You make the time. Just like you all make the time to sit here and hang out with me on the Bald Brad Show. It's always greatly appreciated. I've said this time and time again. I love hanging out with you guys. I don't feel like you're hanging out with me. I'm hanging out with all of you. I get that luckily privileged to do. Tim Pool said, oh, well, you know, nobody was bringing awareness really to Bud Light doing this before. You know, they would promote campaigns and products in the LGBT community before. That is true. There is truth to that. But here's the thing, is that he also said, like, oh, if this was somebody else other than Dylan Mulvaney, there wouldn't have been the backlash. I don't agree with that. The reason why I don't agree with that is because before, there wasn't this incessant push in the public to go after our children, targeting them in the classroom, on media. I mean, every corner you turn nowadays, There is something out there that was created by either the Democrat Party or these progressive leftists, these woke libs, that are targeting your children, whether it's on cereal, whether it's on kids' toys, kids' media, cartoons, movies, the internet, Instagram, you name it, they're constantly targeting your kids. So before, the LGBTQ community sure was targeting kids in some aspect, since always, but not in this effort. This is wild. So I think people just had enough, and Dylan Mulvaney was at tipping point going, this is too much. Now you're targeting a beer that I like, which I don't know how you could like Bud Light. I've said this time and time again. But there's an update on the whole Bud Light controversy. I think that Americans, even if it wasn't Dylan Mulvaney, I think during how political this has gotten, and rightfully so, when you're targeting people's kids, I think regardless of whoever the trans person was or LGBTQ community, I think this was a tipping point for a lot of Americans. I think we just had enough of it. Leave the children alone. You want to be trans, LGBTQ, go do your thing. Go do your thing. But it's not the conservatives and the Republicans that are pushing our viewpoint upon you. You're pushing it upon everybody else, and that's why you have all these Supreme Court decisions coming out where you're forcing religious people, whether it's Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Islam, or whatever, Hindi, Buddhist, like whatever you want to do or believe in, is you want these groups of people to be forced to do something that goes against their religious beliefs because you want to force them to do something. You're forcing them to call you by the correct pronoun. You're forcing them to say certain things that they disagree with. You're forcing them to do something sinful that goes against their religious beliefs. You're forcing them to bake a cake. You're forcing them to design graphics. You're forcing them to say pronouns. You're forcing them to do all these things. You don't see it the reversal, but you're constantly creating this mythos where it's like, oh, well, they're for conservative Republicans are putting all these anti-LGBTQ bills out there because we're targeted people. You were left alone for a long time. And you receive a lot of freedoms. Get married. I don't care. I don't agree with it. Get married. I just want to be left alone. How clear can we be, guys, that we just want to be left alone and not forced to do things? But you're targeting our children, so you're not leaving us alone. You want to not target our children. You want to leave the children alone. We're going to be fine. But until that's done, you're going to have a massive fight on your hands, folks. Well, getting into a little bit of lighter news here, Biden gives us another gaffe. This guy's off. He is off. And when I say off, he literally walks off the air. He's doing a TV interview, you guys. And yeah, it's wrapping up. But rather than sitting there and waiting for things to stop, like go to commercial or a different segment or cut away, the dude walks off the stage. He walks off the stage, you guys. Some people are saying he pooped his pants. I don't know if I believe that. I mean, some of you are laughing right now. I don't know if I believe that. It's the end, and he just gets up and walks off. When have you seen this? Let's roll it.
Well, and the ones that didn't vote for your bills but run on them.
That's right.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate
it's great to have you. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just heard. Well, and the ones.
What just happened? This dude, and you guys, he's supposedly fit and healthy according to the New York Times. This guy's never been so sharp. That's their words. It's also Joy Behar, The View's words. Oh, he exercises all day. She went all ecstatic. Oh my God, yeah, he exercises all day, every day. Yeah. This guy doesn't, I mean, look how thin those legs are, folks. He's on a CPAP machine. And look, he's been having supposedly sleeping problems. He had sleep apnea since 2008 or whatever. And he's on a CPAP machine. Yes, I do agree there might be nothing there. But if he's just getting on it, which is kind of what the reports are, if he just started using a CPAP machine, why? I think there's something underlying going on here. He could barely get out of this chair. Watch him. He can't push himself up. Watch.
That didn't vote for your bills but run on them.
He's struggling. Watch.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
He slides himself out.
Thank you.
He slides himself off. He can't push himself up. Look, he's struggling. Watch.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. President.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
He
you very
slides
much.
himself
It's
off.
great to have you.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you. Thank you. Don't
then
go
watch how he
anywhere.
walks
It's
away.
a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis.
Man, he walks like an old guy. Somebody said, I don't get it. I don't see the big deal. Some people are just, they'll force themselves to see what they don't want to see. Another person says, when have you ever seen someone get up and leave a live interview before the camera cuts off? Like, seriously, what? Another person says, don't be mean, y'all. They told him if he sat down for 20 minutes and answered some very easy questions, he could have an ice cream. I thought it said while he's still alive. There at the end, I almost fell out of my chair. Ugh, jeez, man. I mean, people are just ripping this, and rightfully so. President's not doing well, but let me know what you think about that one, as always, in the comment section or live chat. Wrapping this one up, folks, for this Friday episode. We will be back tomorrow for Supernatural Saturdays. Los Angeles homeless increases, you guys, 10%. I believe we have the Olympics in 2024 or 2028. I guarantee you they're gonna get rid of these homeless people in the same way Joe Biden got rid of the illegal immigrants when he visited El Paso. The homeless crisis in Los Angeles is getting worse. By the way, I should be going to LA tomorrow. I'm going to try to get some footage up there while I can. It's disgusting. I don't want to go, but I'm going up there. I'll try to get footage, folks. I'm not making any promises, man. That place is sketchy as hell. Homeless is up 10% in Los Angeles, according to the 2023 Greater Los Angeles Homeless Count results, which were released on Thursday. In the broader area of Los Angeles County, homeless is up 9%. Los Angeles County homeless population rose to over 75,000, folks, up from 69,000 in 2022, according to the count, which was conducted by the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. I didn't even know we had such a thing. In the city of Los Angeles itself, the number of homeless people jumped to about 46,000 people, up from 42,000 people in 2022. That's nearly the size of the student body of the University of California, Los Angeles. Oh my God, which has just about 48,000 students. While the jump in numbers was slightly less dramatic than in previous years, the homeless population is still growing at a steady pace. You guys, they want to give these people free housing. They want to do all these things, and they can't fathom why they just keep pouring into the state of California, or specifically Los Angeles County, because you're in some areas, they were literally giving them $600. They're giving them multiple meals a day. Beachfront properties, this is happening in Venice. And they were giving them cell phones. And there's a guy in camera going, like, why would I leave? Like, why would I leave this? I have beachfront property. Nobody's kicking me out. I have services left and right that I can have for free. And you're on the beachfront property. Those are multi-million-dollar homes. And by the way, they were closer to the beach than the people that were actually paying money and taxes and all this stuff. The tax money that's going to that person to live freely on the beach. All the while, you have these homeless encampments going up. They're attacking citizens and tourists on Venice Boulevard. I mean, all this stuff is just wild. We have a quarter of the homeless population in one county, you guys. The entire United States, more than 25% of the homeless are in one county, not state, county. These results are disappointing, Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors Chair Janice Hahn said in a statement. It is frustrating to have more people fall into homelessness, even as we are investing hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars and resources into efforts to bring people inside. I appreciate the cities that have stepped up and supported solutions, but these numbers prove that solutions-oriented cities are too few and far between. That's because you're incentivizing them to stay on the street. You're lying by going, oh, well, they don't want to go inside. Correct. They don't want to go inside. Why the hell would you want to go inside when nothing happens to you, when you could pull up on Hollywood Boulevard, have an entire RV on the side of the street, steal power from our light posts, have walls built, full bedding, full everything as if you built your own apartment. You have TVs, plasma TVs on the side of the street. Why would you ever leave that? You're given everything. Free food, you're given money by tourists or citizens or just average Americans walking by. You're given services, free meals. You could take a dump on the street whenever you wanted to. You have beachfront property in Venice that nobody's kicking you off on. You get all the drugs you want if you're a drug addict. So much so the Biden administration or the state of California as well want to set up areas, designated areas to help you with your drug addiction. And by helping you, I mean giving you free needles and drugs to use. People think I'm joking when I say this stuff. This is all real. This is all real. It's not satire. I know it sounds like it, but this is the world we live in. Somehow we're in the upside down. Los Angeles is not the only major city to see a spike in the homeless population lately. Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority said. So this is what they do. They go, well, it's not just our county. It's other counties as well. We're not as bad. Check this out. It just turns out that they're all pretty much leftist-dominated areas. Chicago saw a 57% increase. Portland saw a 20% increase. Areas in California have also seen homeless worsen. Because remember, I said it was a county that had a quarter of the homeless population. It was a county. San Diego has a 22% increase. San Bernardino's 26%. Riverside saw 12%. Kern saw 22%. So, I mean, if you took the entire state of California, our homeless population exceeds any other state by far. By far. Los Angeles County exceeds any other state by far. I'm trying to rationalize this and just help people picture this. I'm not saying you can't. You have majority of the homeless of the entire country in LA County. That's more than you can combine half the country probably. You could probably combine 25 states in our union, and LA County will still have more of the homeless population than any of those states combined. Last year, Los Angeles officials challenged the accuracy of the 2022 homeless count after it found 0 homeless people in the Venice Beach area, an area known for its homeless problem and sometimes called the ground zero of homelessness. You guys, did you hear that? So Los Angeles officials actually challenged the accuracy of the homeless count. They're like, hey, we actually think it's more. Like, oh, you guys only cited that we only have 25% of the country's homeless. No, we actually think we have more than that. We're proud of it. Yeah. Oh, wait, Venice has 0 all the while along Venice Boulevard. There's nothing but homeless encampments along the entire boulevard there. Like I said, beachfront property. And they reported 0 homeless people. Yeah. How does that one work out? Because they're lying. They want to build these, like basically these makeshift homes out of shipping containers. They're like $600,000 plus per shipping container. Let that one sink in. They want to build housing for homeless at $600,000 a pop. They can't do it any cheaper, you guys. They can't do it any cheaper. $650,000 for some of these shipping containers. That's more than a home in the state of California in some areas. A lot of areas. Wild. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on this fine Friday. A lot of winning here for us. We got affirmative action out the door. Libs are losing their minds over it. Check out yesterday's episode, which is episode's actually doing really well. We have over 1.5. We had over 1,500 views. I don't know what's going on here. It's Friday. I'm a little out of it, as I am. Seems like every darn episode here. I haven't had enough coffee. I'm only halfway through this mug. Should we just keep going then until I finish this darn thing? I know a lot of you have plans, and you're like, Brad, just wrap this one up. Become a member. Hit that join tab. A lot of you are joining. Thank the Lord. Finally, folks, we're getting a community. I was talking with some people about this. I am so excited about us building a community here. That's one of the main things. And if you go back to day 1 of this show, I want to build a community because what I've found is a lot of YouTubers out there or influencers or whether it's Daily Wire tries to do this. They try to get their community together, but their community never has regulars in the sense of they don't really know each other. And I want to start this grassroots where all of you know each other's names. You've seen them before, which is awesome because that's what we have. And I really don't want to lose that. No matter how big we get, I really don't want to lose the membership idea. So that's why I've been pushing memberships more, is because that community is a lot more inclusive in terms of with the badges and stuff like that. So it's a lot easier to see everybody's names. And I would like to get to the point where I do more exclusive content for our members only. So based on this Los Angeles thing, if I can get up there tomorrow and kind of record some stuff, that might be for members only. So I kind of want to create side stuff where members have a little bit more perks other than just badges and me commenting and seeing your comments first. Let me know what you think about that. I think it's a good incentive. Membership is as cheap as $4.99. I shouldn't say as cheap. We're in Biden's economy, Bidenomics, but it's your hard-earned money, and I want to kind of be there to support and do a little bit more for those that want to put their hard-earned money towards becoming a member. But think about it. Become a member today. Pick up yourself a copy of Trojan Horse: How the Left is Destroying America. Get yourself a signed copy at baldbrad.com. Email me personally if you want the P.O. box to send your book to get signed. With that being said, is there anything else, folks? Get yourself a mug if you haven't already. A lot of you are buying these up. Look, coffee tastes better. Some of your wives are stealing them from what I'm hearing because they know a good mug when they see one, folks. With that being said, as I keep mentioning, join tab, buy the book, buy some merch, and at the very least, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below, folks. I'll see you here for Supernatural Saturdays here on the Bald Brad channel.